Our mission is to provide a practical secondary education, age about 10 onwards, to deprived children in some of the poorest countries in Africa and Asia. It focuses on the brightest children, especially girls. The uniqueness of the program is that the children, once educated by Pestalozzi philosophy, help provide education for other children similar to themselves. This produces an ongoing ripple effect.
The charity was started in London through the good efforts of Richard Butler many years ago. He approached a friend of his in the United States named Johnny Stokes and me and wondered if we would be interested in getting something started up in the United States. Richard spoke and told a bit about Pestalozzi and the efforts that were going on at that time in Nepal and in Zambia.
Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi lived at the time of the Napoleonic Wars about 200 years ago, and he started taking in children that had been affected by the wars, looking after them and teaching them, and he established a philosophy of education along the lines of Montessori, which has been used by many educationalists over the years.
It's interesting to me that there are many organizations that I think that have evolved that sort of imitate this philosophy of Pestalozzi, and I believe it is a good one for the many children today in this world who live in very rural areas. It just seems to make all the sense in the world.
The philosophy of Pestalozzi is to encourage a child to learn not only with its head through school, what it learns at school, but also through their heart and being good citizens, but in particular by using their hands to be able to fend for themselves, to look after themselves, to be self-sufficient.
I had the privilege of going down with my husband David in the spring of 1999 to Zambia to visit one of the Pestalozzi centers there in Kasisi. So that was very special. We drove out and we were extremely impressed because we had been reading on paper about the building of the center in Zambia, but we had never seen it. The Pestalozzi Center is a building around a courtyard, and it's sort of communal living. We had a particularly hearty welcome where they sang songs and there were speeches, and they really had prepared quite a ceremony upon our arrival, which was very special.
On behalf of the girls at Kasisi Basic School and the school as a whole, we welcome you to our school. Hope that you'll be glad as we are meeting here today. We wish you well. We hope that you will be glad as we are meeting.
One of the other areas of concern with these children is disease. When the children arrive at the school, they have not been fed properly. They've been malnourished. And one of the statistics that was quite impressive is the children, after a couple of months on the school, put on, maybe up to 10 to 12 pounds, which is quite amazing. There is a policy of trying to bring in 2 girls to 1 boy. The reason for that is that the need is far greater for the women than the men. And it is the girls who will be playing the important role with the family. Education for the girls when they go back to their villages with understanding more about childbearing, understanding, especially with AIDS as rampant as it is, having an education about these issues, having an education about nutrition. These are all basic issues that women will go back and can greatly influence the family life. So it's a very appropriate focus, and I believe that it will work.
In Nepal, there is a foundation established which is established by the alumni, and they are helping to educate others. Now, as it's quite recent since we had an alumni body, they're still quite young, but there are other foundations in Thailand where this has been going on for some years, and what has happened there is the model to be applied in Nepal and in India and later in Zambia. Our hope is that the foundations will take on the work that Pestalozzi overseas has been doing. These are all children who are alumni who are very poor themselves, come from very poor families, who have been educated through the scholarship system that we've been able to provide and who are now helping others. And this is what we would like to see in every country where we're operating, so we won't be needed anymore.
One of the most impressive things that I have found is that the trustees of Pestalozzi have been unusually dedicated to taking on their responsibilities. When trustees go off to one of these countries, they pay their own way. We have, in the fundraising operation in New York, no funds that are going to support secretaries or postage or stationery or any of those things. And all of these costs are being covered by the trustees. And I think that's a little unusual, and it's a sign of the dedication that they feel towards the organization.
The reunion in Dharamsala in northern India was organized by the Tibetans. We had meetings amongst the various groups in Asia, and then the following day we had the privilege of being present at the open day for the Tibetan Children's Center. And the Dalai Lama was present there and supervised the proceedings, and we were very fortunate after the event to have an audience with His Holiness. On this occasion, we had about half an hour, and my wife and he seemed to get on very well, and at the end of it, she threw her arms around him and she asked him if he would be good enough to be our patron. And while he couldn't commit on the spot because he has his own bureaucracy now, we did get a letter back from His Holiness's office about a month later saying that he would be very happy to be our patron. So we're very pleased about that. A couple of years ago, when we set up the US Trust, we had a reception and we saw a number of our friends who were very generous and who have helped us. And what we found in the United States was that people are extremely generous, very philanthropic, but most of the funding is in the United States and not very much is outside. And what we say to people both in Europe and in the United States is that, of course, they should support their own charities. They must support their local charities and their national charities, but they mustn't forget the tremendous needs that exist in the developing countries, particularly in Africa and Asia, which are so much poorer than anywhere else in the world. We provide the funding to the schools where the children are being educated, not through bureaucracies, not through a myriad of agencies. And we have the support in what we have been doing, for instance, in Zambia with the British High Commissioner and the UNICEF people. They are delighted that small groups such as ourselves will do whatever we can to help these children and will provide us with whatever help they can.
Our job is only beginning. We have a long ways to go. We hope to keep working in the countries of Africa, Nepal, and India. I think we've just made a start, and we hope that the children who experience the Pestalozzi training will carry it on.
We've only been going a few years, so I keep being told that I mustn't make too many commitments, because whenever we go on these trips, I come back and say, we've got to do another 20 children here or another 30 children there. So I'm being told that we've got to get the funding sorted out first.